Hey yo, what is up? Back with another tank from Supertest. This is the LT-85 or LTS-85 new light tank in Supertest, and this plays differently. It's gonna be a little bit quirky and you might like it. Now if you look at the hull design, it looks a lot like a BMP. It looks like a PT, one of those post-Soviet era tanks, and I think that's exactly what it is. It looks like one of the PT early tanks, or one of the BMP, early BMP tanks from the 50s or 60s. I'm not too sure, but really quirky design. It's coming into the modern era. I think it's pretty cool, but there are a little bit of issues about the tank that might scare people away. But let's talk about the stats, and we can go over it, and then we'll decide at the end of the video if we like this tank or not. 1150 hit points. This tank has obviously, as a light tank, has got less hit points than your regular tier 8 tanks. 700 horsepower with 24 power to weight ratio. 24 ton tank with a 29 power to weight ratio. This is incredible agility and mobility. Very light tank. I wanted to put the weight here for you guys so that you have that in context for the 700 horsepower engine. 29 power to weight ratio makes this like a wheeled tank. Very light tank, very agile on its feet, left right forward and reverse very quickly. Top speed of 65 going forward, 23 in reverse. Rotation speed 52 degrees per second. This is a super light tank. This is like you're on a bicycle or something like that. You can easily turn left and right, get out of the way, go forward and in reverse very quickly. Absolutely no armor at all. Hull armor 40 frontally, turret armor maybe a little bit of armor there, 80 millimeters on the front of the turret. With that sloped turret you might get a couple of lucky bounces, but generally speaking there is no armor all around. The big thing about this tank is the 300 alpha gun. 400 if you are firing HE shells and penetrate. 300 alpha is really huge, but as usual light tanks get lower penetration, so your standard AP penetration is going to be 181 millimeters of penetration on the AP shells, 250 millimeters of penetration with APCR premium shells. Both shells do not have any very high velocity, both of them below 1000 meters per second shell velocity. In fact, the AP shells only 815 meters per second. Not really good for 181 penetration. Still playable with if you're shooting tier 7 and tier 6 tanks, but against tier 8 and above tanks it's going to be pretty difficult. You're going to be probably firing your premium shells majority of the time, hoping that 250 millimeters of penetration will get you sufficient enough penetration. You still have to aim for weak spots even with 250 millimeters of penetration, especially if you're fighting against tier 9 tanks. But 300 alpha is the main selling point of this tank, but the reload time is 11 seconds. You could probably get this down to about 9.5-10 seconds of reload time, but it is still significantly slow reload, and this is going to be detrimental for a light tank, especially if you get bomb rushed by enemy light tanks that have quick reload times. 6-second reload time. They could probably pump 2-3 shots at you while taking 1 shot of damage from you. So very difficult to play as a light tank if you're going to reload very slowly. And the other main downside of this tank is that accuracy. 0.40 dispersion for that accuracy is really poor. For context, an IS-3 dispersion is 0.38, so this has worse accuracy than an IS-3. We don't know what the moving dispersions are, but let's say the moving dispersions is somewhere in the middle, not bad and not too great. 0.15 dispersion, it's still gonna make this tank have terrible accuracy. Even when you're fully aimed sniping from a distance, you're not gonna hit anything, and that is the main downer on this tank. That slow reload and that poor dispersion is not gonna make this tank very excitable to be playing in. Although I must admit, the hull design, the hull shape makes this tank pretty sexy and interesting. People are going to be interested to play because it looks like a BMP, because it looks like a PT, because it looks like one of the more modern looking tanks. That's going to make it kind of interesting. But that dispersion and slow reload and 2.21 seconds of aim time, it's going to make this tank pretty difficult to like. It's going to make it pretty difficult to love. I'm kind of in the middle here. I can't say I really like this tank. I can say I like the way it looks, but I can't say I like the way it's going to perform because of that reload and poor accuracy. But we'll see what happens. Still early days. I do have a feeling they're going to buff it. In fact, I'm pretty sure they have to buff it because 0.40 accuracy is just not going to be acceptable in 2023, especially if you're going to be coming up against other light tanks that have better accuracy. You're going to be coming up against Burrasque that's going to chew you up and eat you alive. You're going to be coming up against a lot of tanks that are just basically going to absolutely trash this tank. And I think to make it more competitive, they have to improve that reload time, and they have to improve that dispersion time. Even the aim time needs to come down a little bit, maybe just below 2 seconds of aim time. It's going to be important. 390 meters of view range is going to be pretty normal for a light tank in tier 8, I assume. But more information is going to come out later on. But let's see what's going to happen with this tank. It's going to be very interesting. The LTS-85 or whatever this tank is going to be called. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.